All right, so I'm aware this is labeled step 7. I'm going to use it for that, but also to close out step 6. So once the consumer has selected a health plan, you have the option of adding optional separate dental. We do not offer any specific expertise, and we're not going to be offering assistance with dental. If the consumer had a plan last year and wants to be in the same plan, fine, we can do that. And that's what I mean by one-stop dental, but we will not offer any assistance with shopping for dental. The reason being that it doesn't function the way medical insurance does, and there's no real incentive to buy it ahead of time. What we do advise is that consumers look to Manos de Cristos, a local sliding fee scale dental clinic, for their dental needs. They can buy dental insurance year-round, specific to need, directly through dental companies, and that is the recommended approach. There's no incentive to buy it ahead of time. The consumer must agree that they're only going to be eligible for subsidies if they're not eligible for other coverage. They also must agree that they will file taxes jointly if married. They expect as well that they cannot be claimed as a dependent, and they'll claim their dependents appropriately. If anything changes, they're advised that the IRS at the end of the year will compare the income they've earned to the estimate that we set up with them. And again, that will be reconciled. So if there's a change, they want to check in with us, which we're happy to assist with any time during the year. You're going to then have the consumer sign the application. Again, any signage is acceptable. They can just do an X, they can type their whole name, whatever they feel inclined to do. And then you'll just hit finish plan selection. At this point, the consumer is enrolled. You want to let them know that they need to effectuate their coverage by making a payment by the end of December so their coverage can start January 1. Preferably before that, but of course the last day to do that would be the very last day of December. And that is a step that they are responsible for. Consumers come back to us sometimes and say, well, they never sent me a bill. They may or may not send you a bill, but the step that you are required to take regardless is going to be making that first payment, and we have resources to assist them with it. Now, on top of the assistance offered by the marketplace, we have two entities, Central Health and the Health Alliance for Austin Musicians, that can assist certain eligible consumers with their remaining premiums. Essentially, this is assistance that sits on top of the marketplace offered assistance if it's offered. So consumers have the option to select an eligible plan and enroll in a premium assistance program if they're otherwise eligible. And we will have little one-pagers explaining what criteria consumers need to meet to be eligible. Consumers eligible for the PAP or interested in the PAP will be identified for you on the top section of the back of the tracking sheet. If they're HAM or SIMS or applying for either of those programs, if they're CHAP or sliding fee scale or a possible sliding fee scale client. So those are the programs in theory that a consumer can get premium assistance help with if they are interested and if they are eligible for it, and that's how they'll be identified. So you should be completing the application as you usually would, and that's definitely the trickiest part. The PAP part is very easy. If the consumer is eligible, they can pick the plan that Central Health or HAM will help them with. There are only certain plans that they can select to be eligible. But that's an option. They do not have to do that. And then they will need to complete the Premium Assistance Program form. And if you will review that with them and ensure it's legible. And that will signal to Central Health or to HAM that they are opting to be in this Premium Assistance Program and have whatever remaining part of their premium fully or partially covered by one of those two entities. Okay, so we have made it to step 7. Step 7 is kind of your wrap-up step, just where you're reminding the consumer of certain things. If it's possible to do an upload, you might be doing an upload. And you'll notice that this serves as a sort of checklist for us at the very end here on the tracking sheet. The resource page has some great one-pagers for consumers and also gives you some more information about making an upload if you can make an upload with that consumer today. Very, very important reminder. Don't advise the consumer to ever call the marketplace. We're here all year. Very little changes can have lasting negative impacts on a consumer's insurance. They are best advised, whatever the change is, to reach out to us during the year. We're happy to assist. Small changes can have big, big implications. So advise them, advise them. We are here all year and we're happy to help you. These are a couple of examples of one-pagers from Sendero Ideal Care and Ambetter. And what's most important about these is that they show consumers how to make a payment. It's very important that consumers make a payment by December 31st, regardless as to whether or not the insurance company sends them a bill. That is their responsibility. So making sure they know how they can pay, and they can usually do it online or by phone, is very important. And those one-pagers can be something you print off to show them how to do that. So, one other step that you can be encouraged to complete if there's time and if the information is available is why proof is being requested. So firstly, if they are asking for proof of income or proof of identity or proof of whatever they're asking for, it's simply because something in the system doesn't match up. Typically when it's income, the estimate we're using for 2018 doesn't match the record from 2016. And that might make perfect sense, but the consumer just needs to make sure they're submitting proof by the deadline, which tends to be 90 days from the date of the application. Now, we want to address this as a, hey, this isn't a big deal, get this done and there are no consequences, but if the consumer does not get this done, they will lose their tax credit and their cost sharing and will be responsible suddenly for those amounts. So that could be a very big deal. So the consumer wants to take this seriously and get this upload completed. Now, please avoid explaining this to the consumer. It's more for you to know and communicate to them in a quick, brief way. Basically, if the consumer says to you, well, I have my 2016 tax return with me, you can go ahead and know that that's not going to help. If they have filed taxes, the IRS already has that estimate. And that's why when we have you guys record information from the eligibility letter, we have you write down the estimate that appears in the application, because the proof needs to be within 10% of that or it simply won't work. And consumers don't get that. They submit a pay stub and think they're being compliant, and the pay stub may not prove that annual estimate that we used, and that's what the problem is. Be aware that sometimes a consumer will be required to submit proof that they're not incarcerated, which can be very, very awkward if you've been working with someone for a while and now you're getting this weird tidbit into them. Firstly, be aware that this does not necessarily mean they have been incarcerated. It could mean that their social was triggered or used in a penal setting for some reason. Don't tell them that. That does not make people feel a lot better. Just advise them that we need something that proves that they're in the community, a bill in their name, for example, or a pay stub, something that shows them out in the community, and if they've never been incarcerated, they've never been incarcerated. It's not our deal to judge. I will let you know that in the past I had a consumer who got very angry with me and said, oh, I've never been incarcerated. How dare they make this request? And then his wife stepped out to the car to get the bill and he confessed, yes, no, I have been incarcerated and I just don't want my wife to know. So be aware, tread lightly with this circumstance, and I advise summarizing it as proof that you've been out in the community. This document is something you can use to advise consumers they need to come back and what they need to come back with. So it will give them our hours and when they can return and what they should return with after the 15th of December, once open enrollment ends. So you can use this just to give them that little reminder, and they'll be all over the site. Okay, so if you have time, if time allows and the consumer has the documentation, you can definitely complete a one-step upload. So I'm defining a one-step upload as only one proof is being requested. So the consumer is being asked for proof of immigration, not proof of immigration, income, and proof not incarcerated, just one proof. The proof that they have is clear and understandable. You don't look at it and wonder how on earth it proves the thing being requested. If that's the case, it's not a good proof. It's not clear and understandable. The proof is ready to go. What I mean by that is it's not in the car, it's not in the neighbor's house, it's right there with you. And most importantly, the CAC should need to do nothing except the actual upload. They should need to pretty much load it onto a USB drive and scan it into the application, and that's it. Any more than that, that's not a one-step upload. So if it's taking more than 10 minutes, it is not a one-step upload, and it honestly shouldn't take as much as 10 minutes. So for example, here's a one-step upload. The only income is Social Security, disability, and the consumer has a letter that shows that exact amount. That's a one-step upload. Another example, only one income in the household, the only income is self-employment. The consumer is willing to sign an attestation, which states the monthly, the annual upload. Consumers who need to return after the 15th, multiple sources of income. So if they have social, part-time gig, self-employment, that merits a little more explanation, and we're going to need them to come back. A huge household with multiple income sources, they're going to need to come back. An upload requiring organizing lots of documents or explaining any of them, they will need to come back. This is where that self-employment attestation is. We have a couple of versions. If a consumer has self-employment and one other like part-time income source, they can fill out that. But essentially, if they're willing to say, I expect to earn this amount per month, this amount per year, and obviously that should match what's in the application, sign it and date it, perfect. That's a one-step upload, and we will do that for any self-employed person willing to complete that document. Now, if they want to hem and haw about some days being more than that and less than that, they need to come back so we can work a little harder and come up with a more complicated document that they're comfortable with. But if they're comfortable with this, by all means, have them complete it and submit it. After the 15th, I can help with anything. If they need me to work remotely, if they complain to you, oh, I live in Spicewood, I won't be able to come back, fine. I will assist them remotely. I've done it before. If there's an issue with whether or not the proof matches what's on the application, after the 15th, I have time to adjust it or explain it. But up until the 15th, what we need to focus on is getting people enrolled. So definitely grab a manager if a consumer is being challenging about wanting to get it all done today, and I definitely understand that impulse, but the reality is we may not have time to get it all done today. Now, just as a reminder, you're going to do those uploads. You go into the application for 2018. You're looking for the fourth tab down, which is called Application Details, and that's where documents can be uploaded. We have sort of a little checklist within the tracking sheet that allow you to wrap up, just reminding the consumer when they need to make sure to make that payment, letting them know when they can use insurance. They don't have to wait on insurance cards. They should be advised in January, schedule a doctor appointment, become an established patient. And then most importantly, we are here year-round. If they need to come back, they should come see us. We are happy to assist with anything, just be it questions or concerns. We are open all year. And then hustle them along so you can get to enrolling someone else. And then finally, ultimately, thank you so much for listening to me talk for 6 hours or so now. And I'm going to just give you one last pop quiz, which of course I'm going to have to answer because you're not physically here with me. But I always wonder about the consumer who I spent a whole hour educating on health insurance and its function and form and the challenges and the terminology, and just thinking like, how much of this could that person possibly have absorbed? So I think that the one thing that is very important here, the consumer can leave and forget every single thing I've told them, but there is one thing I hope they remember, one thing that sticks with them, because my belief is if they remember this, all the rest can follow. And the answer is kind of in here. Most importantly, we are here all year. Don't call the marketplace. Come back to us with questions or concerns. If you need to make an update, if you need help finding a physician, if you've plan questions, billing questions, application questions, questions about a notice from the marketplace, whatever it is, come back to us. We are open year-round to assist with navigating those issues. So please advise the consumer of that. And ultimately, this is what we're going to do starting very, very shortly. So thank you so much for viewing this video, and we look forward to you assisting us with assisting others.